According to the Journal of the American Medical Association, a recent study found that 110 out of 111 deceased NFL players had suffered from chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, a neurodegenerative disease typical of those who have had several head injuries. And as the football season kicks into full gear, this finding has left all those who care about the game with one big question. Are players prepared for the potential long-term effects associated with the game? Joining us to continue our conversation about traumatic brain injuries in football is former Redskin quarterback and two-time Pro Bowler, Joe Theismann. Joe, thanks so much for talking to us today about this very important issue. So Joe, just last week, Joe Namath told us about the reasons why he became involved in the fight against a traumatic brain injury. You're involved as well. Why?
Well, first of all, because I think it's very important, not only for those of us that have potentially suffered from it and been involved in the game for many years. I think it's important for young men and young women and for parents to understand more about what goes on with the brain. I've advocated for a long time that in youth athletics they do baseline studies, so that if there is a problem going forward every 3 or 4 years, you can check if someone is participating in athletics. You can continue to check and make sure that there aren't the effects that are occurring that could hurt them the rest of their life. So for me, I think it's a very big issue. It's a big issue for us in professional football, and it's a big issue in college football, high school football, youth soccer. Every aspect of athletics in some way, shape, or form seems to be touched by this issue.
Right. I mean, and if the statistics are to be believed, a lot of former football players and current football players have suffered. Do you have a lot of former teammates who are suffering from some kind of brain injury?
Well, I think it's an individual thing so much, Raphael, because I know I was a part of the class action lawsuit that the NFL settled. I'm waiting now to basically be assigned to a neurologist so that they can really study me and find out exactly where I am with the progression of potential issues going forward. At my age, I'm 68 years old, and I played football starting at the age of 12. So you go, being a young kid playing and then going to high school and college and then playing 15 years of professional football. There's a lot of an accumulation of hits there, and you just don't know how it's affected you. I find myself at times with a balance issue a little bit, sometimes a little bit of a memory issue, which seem to be indicators that there could be potentially an issue there. I don't know for sure at this point, but I know that we have a lot of guys out there that do need help. We have a lot of guys that have suffered. I mean, the statistics bear it out. Friends I've talked to bear it out. I know what guys are going through in our particular sport. But then I asked the question, we focus so much on professional football, and because it is, it is taken over to a degree as America's sport. And people in baseball will argue with me, but I'll leave it at that. But then I think about, how about hockey? How about soccer players that have gone through it? Those that have used their head, those that have been hit in the head, what is the percentage when it comes to the studies that are done on CTE with them? So it's an open question that still has a lot of answers to be sought.
Why do you think it took so long for this disease to come to the light of day? Was it simply because everybody was ignorant back in the day? Or, as some suggest, it was willful ignorance, that some people just didn't want this truth to come out because it hurt their bottom line?
Well, I think it was denial. I think that looking back and doing a little bit of research, you say that people just didn't want to recognize that it existed. If they acknowledged and recognized that it did exist, it could potentially be an issue and a problem. And I think most people tend to want to try and avoid problems as much as they can in lieu of facing them head to head and say, okay, these are the economic consequences. This is what the situation is. Let's deal with it in the most positive way for the largest group possible. From what I gathered, there was a way to protect the game. In somebody's mind, it was like, let's protect the game, when we really weren't. Society has changed tremendously. This is one thing that people forget. With the advent of social media, things have changed so much. I mean, if something happened in California versus New York, it would take you weeks to find out. Now it takes you a millisecond to know what's going on around the world. And I think there are a lot of people that are, through social media, have a chance not to step out in front where their face is recognized. They all run under different names, so you can say something and have an opinion about something. And if you get enough of a groundswell, it can create a very big wave that people have to pay attention to.
You know, some people actually argue that the game of football is too violent and will always be too violent. Therefore, at the very least, children or young men should not play the game. What's your take on that?
I hear that often, that parents would say, I'm afraid to have my child play football. And I say, well, you do want your child involved in some type of extracurricular activity at school. I assume that. I assume that's what parents would want to do. So what would be the option? So how about soccer? So what do you hit with a soccer ball? Your head. It isn't just the fact that you hit a ball with your head, but you get kicked in the head. Soccer is up there percentage-wise when it comes to concussions that occur as well. So are we going to put our children in a little vacuum? How about the skateboarders out there that fall? Yeah. I mean, I could probably go through a lot of different activities outside of the game of football that you would look at and say potentially there could be a problem. I think of when I played professional football, I understood there was a risk that something may happen to me going forward. I still chose to play the game. I think of our police officers. I think of those that have enlisted in the military, our firemen. When they go to work every day, they're not sure what the circumstances of their life are going to be after that day. They come home safe, they're happy. And so from a football player's perspective, there are risks that were taken. I've taken those risks. But if you ask me this, Raphael, would you do it again? In a heartbeat.
You know, there's a lot of work being done to reverse traumatic brain injury. You're doing some of that work. But what about preventing traumatic brain injury in the first place in the game of football?
I think the nature of the game, the way we play it, it's a fast, violent contact sport. That's the way the game is. I think the National Football League and the Players Association continue to work very, very hard together to try and create an environment where safety is looked upon in a primary way. Having neurosurgeons on the sidelines now, if somebody looks like they might be a little bit dazed, they're coming off the field, they're going to be checked and studied. Our concussion protocol is very, very elaborate route now to try and help guys. So you're making the effort, but you can't take out the fact that guys are hitting guys. That's what's happening. Guys are hitting guys. And if that happens, there could be an occurrence going forward. I mean, we have 1,350 guys on an active roster that participate in the sport basically on a weekly basis. I don't know what the percentage is of those that would wind up with a concussion at some point during that particular week. But I do know that it's something that everybody makes a conscientious decision to do and go out and play.
So, Joe, despite all the problems of the game, are you still optimistic about the future of football?
I am at this point. I still think we're in a very embryonic stage when it comes to the therapies that are there, the research that's being done, and that's really why I'm here, to try and promote and get funds to foster research, because the hyperbaric oxygen studies that we're doing have proven that we can help the brain, we can bring back that memory, we can enlighten that area of the brain again, and it's exciting. We can all sit hypothetically and say, gee, I wish this could happen. But when you see testimony from people, when you hear the experiences that people have had, you say to yourself, we're on the cusp of being able to do something that can make a difference in a big way, and actually help a sport in a big way, ours in professional football, but help everybody out there. It isn't just athletics. We get sidetracked with the fact that we think, the athletes are the only one that suffer from this. If you were in a car accident, if something happened to you, if you fell down, if you hit your head on a car door getting into it, those are all things that cause that brain to move around, and you don't know what the consequences are going to be going forward in your life. So it isn't just the athlete that's going to benefit from our research, it's everyday people out there. And really,
members of the military?
Military, what are we talking about? We're talking about quality of life. Yeah. That's exactly what we're talking about. And that's what we want to do with our research, is give someone a better quality of life.
Okay, Joe, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.